She's on. It's twice as me because we have the same phone.
All right, ready whenever you are, Jane.
Okay, we can start. So it's no 7:02, I guess.
Yep.
All right, Laura and Earl, did you guys review the minutes from May 11?
Yep.
Any questions?
Nope.
I have a fan on and everything's blowing away. Sorry.
Come on. Come on up.
Everybody good with the minutes?
Yeah.
So, do you want to make a motion, Earl?
Sure. Motion to accept.
Okay. And we're having difficulties with computers in the house, so Laura is sitting in the same room with me. So you want to say second that, Laura?
Yeah.
Okay, and she's good with the minutes as well. All right, so motion made to accept them, Lori. And we'll move on to number 2, 7 Walnut Street, the community septic loan, and Lori can speak about that.
We have an application from Karen McDonough for a community septic loan in the amount of $7,900. That includes our fees, the engineer's fees, and the bid for the repair. We have all the documentation. There's nothing unusual about it. And I just need a vote to approve it, and I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
Nope.
No, I trust, Lori, that you have everything, and I would make a motion to approve that.
I will second that.
And that was Laura. Earl, are you in
Sure.
favor of that?
Earl actually has to abstain because
I
he
have to
knows the
abstain.
person personally.
Oh, okay, okay, no problem. Thank you. All right,
Okay,
and when you have that paperwork, Lori, I know you'll let me know and I can come and sign it. Perfect.
I will. So the next item on the agenda,
COVID.
kind of an update of everything you can think of, or maybe more.
Okay.
So I just wanted to let you know that since July 2nd, we haven't had any active cases. And I'd like you guys to think about maybe doing a notice on our website where we keep the dates in consecutive order. It's been 25 days since we've had an active case. Kind of like a workplace accident thing. You know, we haven't had an accident in 30 days. Kind of keep a count.
I'm fine with that idea. Yeah, I think if we do that, we want to make sure that we also put something on there to make sure that people remain diligent about the safety precautions of the distancing and masks and everything. But I think that's a nice boost to everybody's morale, that we're doing the right thing.
Definitely.
Earl, any comments on that?
Just the next question. I don't know what's going on with with Lori right now, but the amount of questions that you're going to have regarding that, but there's probably going to be a whirlwind of, is the school going to open? What are they doing about this? What about playground? And all that other stuff is going to follow with that. You know, we haven't had a case in 45 days. Well, then why aren't we doing this? And
we're actually going to talk about that too.
Okay.
I have a lovely list of things for you. The second thing on the list is actually reinforce the practice of protocols, hand washing, sanitizing, social distancing, face covers, high-touch areas still being cleaned on a regular basis. We want people to remember that gatherings are 25 or less in enclosed spaces. I see a lot of things that go by, gatherings, graduation parties, all sorts of things.
Okay.
There, I don't know if anybody else saw it, but there was also a thing in Chatham where a restaurant had 9 people become infected with COVID from a gathering that was in their building. So I want us to continue to move forward very carefully. We're doing a good job. Templeton, for the most part, we've had very few complaints that I've had to follow up on. And I say very few, there's a couple every week where I check things out, but for the most part, people are really being good. And we want to stay that way. So yes, we can put that as a reminder on our website also. We try to post something at least every week that has a link to a site with more information. We also, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Kind of a good job, but we have to keep doing it type deal.
Yes, most definitely.
I just don't want people to get too comfortable with, well, we haven't had a case, so why can't I have my graduation party, or why can't I have my wedding or funeral, or whatever else happens. That's my thought on that. I see it more and more in my travels, more and more people in different towns gathering. And one of them today was at a private beach, and there was 100 kids in a, 300 square foot area with parents and everything else, and they're all swimming and having a ball. And I don't know what's going on in it wasn't Templeton, by the way, but it, I just looked at it and I said, well, there's just wrong all around.
Right.
But it's not my place to say anything. It's not my town, so.
Okay.
But it's true. I think we're all seeing that everywhere, that people are getting lax.
That's
So
all.
we did receive some supplies from Montechusett Public Health Network. I went to Fitchburg last Friday and ended up with a pickup truck load of hand sanitizer, gloves. I got 2 thermometers so that we can use them here. Just a load of stuff. And what we've done is that has gone to the pandemic room that's at the school, and with the help of the the emergency manager, Rich Curtis, and Dave Dickey, who's our fire chief, one of the guys actually did a beautiful inventory of what's up there. And what we're going to do is it'll be the last in, first out method, as I discussed with Carter.
Okay.
So we'll continue to use the supplies to keep them in stock, but with no expirations happening. And we will continue. We have several meetings that we'll still have with Chief Dickey and Rich Curtis to decide what other materials we may need for that room.
Jane, this is Carter, if I might.
Yep. Please.
So the idea is, instead of each department having its own supplies and then having the pandemic supply, there will be one centralized supply. Excuse me, it's allergies, nothing else, folks.
Okay.
It'll be one central supply built to an inventory that is agreed upon by Laurie from a public health perspective, emergency management, police, fire, basically the user agencies. And then the fire department will manage it so that when police, health, fire, whoever user agency is needs supplies, it'll be drawn from that supply room, and then they'll be responsible for keeping it replenished, so that we are cycling the material through on a more regular basis. There do continue to be challenges that we see into the fall in getting everything that we're going to need. We have the CARES money. We've set aside a substantial portion of that to buy additional PPE. But from what we're being told, there are still problems in obtaining
It's, yes, it is.
in the quantity that we need. But I do think that this new system will put us in a better position, not only in terms of having a better strategically planned inventory of everything, but in making sure that it's being cycled through, as Lori describes, that the last items in the oldest stock is going out the door first. So we won't have some of the issues like we had this time around.
That makes complete sense to me. I saw the inventory list and it looks great so far. So thank you for sending that to me, Lori.
If you
And I like
think
the
of
idea.
something- I'm
What's
sorry, go
that?
ahead. I was going to say, if you see something that's missing from that list, please email me and let me know what
Okay.
you're thinking. Any
Okay,
of you.
I will.
Okay.
And I know a lot of it is still really hard to get. I know we can't get things
It
in the
is.
office I work in. It's
Yeah.
on back order, back order, back order. So, yeah.
So we're also working on a couple of flu clinics. I have a couple of dates set aside at the school, which is our emergency dispensing site. And I'm trying to take into consideration whether or not we go through CVS, which is really going to be jumping through a lot of hoops because of the information that we have to provide them prior to having a flu clinic. I'm also waiting to hear from the state on whether or not they'll be supplying any vaccine, and this would be regular vaccine that I'm looking at, our regular flu type stuff. If they are going to supply vaccine, it would be a much easier flu clinic. We could really pump a lot of people through. We've always had nurses that were willing to step up to the plate and help us out and provide the manpower to do it. And administratively, my office can definitely do that part. We'd all volunteer to be there. So I still have to wait before I give you any more information on how that exactly that's going to go. But we're looking at the end of September and the beginning of October to be out ahead of it for the regular flu season.
Okay. That sounds good because I know a lot of people aren't going into the stores anymore to get them or to CVS.
Right.
So, okay.
Jane, if I might.
Go ahead, Carter.
To Earl's point, the flu clinics that Lori's been working on, I think are excellent because the town staff, the town in general, have done a great job in keeping cases very low. But we need to constantly reinforce that requires good efforts, continuing good efforts. And on the same time, should this come back with any ferocity in our area, we want to make sure that people are doing all of the other kinds of things that they can be doing to minimize demands on the healthcare system, flu shots, all of those kinds of things. So this is not directly COVID related, but it would hopefully minimize any demand on the local healthcare system should COVID come back with any great strength in our region.
Yes. Thank you. We do have a couple or one question. Some people are asking, they're being told by selectmen that the town office employees are not wearing masks in situations that they are unable to social distance. Are they being required to? And it makes sense that they should be because the town has the supplies.
If we're not within 6 feet of each other, a mask is not a requirement. When we are within 6 feet, a mask is worn. They're not worn in the office. If we have to go outside to wait on somebody, we wear our masks. So I'm not sure, and actually I was going to talk about that as one of the last things, but the hand washing, all of it, it's all being enforced. The chains are up during the day to keep people, you know, aware of what's going on. We usually do one person in the kitchen at a time. I mean, I'm not going to say that there absolutely hasn't been a time where I've gone, oh wait, I need to grab my mask. So I'm sure somewhere along the line, somebody saw something, but as a rule, we are distanced.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay,
That
Do you
was
want me to go
the
on?
only question right now, so thank you.
okay.
Yes,
you
please.
You may have seen Governor Baker has updated the quarantine practices for people who are traveling outside of Massachusetts. When they come back, there are several states that are actually considered safe. So if you come back from, as an example, these are the states that are considered safe: Connecticut, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Hawaii, New Jersey, Vermont, Maine, and New York. You don't have to self-quarantine. Any other state, any other travel, when you come back, it's a 14-day quarantine period or a negative test finding from within 72 hours. If you have to wait for that test result, you have to quarantine until you get the test result. So there's a $500 violation if you get caught. Just wanted
Yes.
people to know.
Per day.
It's $500 per day.
Per day.
That's what I said.
That's, yeah, okay.
Yep. I also wanted to let people know that the Templeton PD hasn't had any issues that required intervention or ticketing for violations at this point in time. So thanks, everybody. Keep up the good work. Everybody's been pretty helpful. And we
Yes.
already talked about reinforcing the practices and protocols. And we talked about town building safety. So unless you have more questions, I've gone through my list, and Carter might want to add something.
The only two items that I would add that for folks that might be watching, and I think this is goes back to a question that Earl brought up earlier, is we don't know what the status of the schools is just yet. They've been required to submit 3 draft plans. One would be how they could have all students physically present. One plan would be how they could distance learn, distance instruct all students. And the third would be a hybrid, whether that's half of each class rotated, or it's half the high school is on distance learning, and then the elementary. We don't know what that is just yet. That draft plan, is my understanding, has to go into the state by 31 July. And then there are final plans that are due in August 10. We've indicated to the schools that whatever we can do to be of assistance, please let us know so we can help get that word out and do anything that we can possibly do on our end. And we have reached out to try to include any costs that they can identify in the CARES money. The town is eligible for as much as $700,000 in change, in addition to the town's PPE, security windows, more technology, those kinds of things. We are including the schools. So far, they've identified about $60,000 worth of items, and we're hopeful they'll identify more once they know what one of those three plans might be. So I encourage people, I believe the school committee is now meeting actually weekly on this. And we encourage people to watch the school district committee meetings for more information, but we will relay what we know when we know it. The second issue really relates to that, is there has been considerable discussion about local sports. The Recreation Commission had canceled all summer sports, but we have the fall leagues that are now starting to inquire. The School Athletic Association itself, and MIA, Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, if I have that correct, has indicated they might restart some sports on September 14. I think at this point, unless the board thinks otherwise, our thought is to watch and see what the schools Interscholastic Association does, because we just think that's probably a better monitor than us making the call locally. And again, back to Earl's question is, as we say, yes, we're doing well, we have to constantly reinforce, but we're doing well because people have been doing all the right things. And the minute you stop doing those right things, then you won't do well. The cases will come up. So we just want to make people aware that we are getting this question on sports. And at this point, Lori and I are thinking that the best thing to do is kind of sit back a little bit longer, wait and see what the schools do, wait and see what the Interscholastic Athletic Association does for all schools, and then revisit the issue with you all in a few weeks' time.
That sounds like a plan.
I have
Thank you.
Sorry, Jane. I have a kind of a related question. What do we have for signage in public places? And I know we can't do it on private property, but as far as any place that the town is involved, like whatever's as things opening up, like I know the Board of Health of the town offices, do we have signage posted for the social distancing and the masks in our buildings?
When we actually open to the public, there will be signs posted for the public. It's a requirement. There's a lot of requirements that go with opening back up to the public. And I have a nice pile here that we'll sift through. And we're actually still, and you can give your thoughts, talking about when town buildings will actually open. I'd like to see us take it slow.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I agree.
At this point, Earl, all of the public buildings are closed to the public at large. The staff is there. Obviously, we service people at the police department through the dispatch window. The library is doing a curb service. People can call up, send emails, arrange their books, and the staff will actually take those new books that they would like to read out to the curb and pick up anything that they're returning, or people can put them in the drop box. The fire department is closed to the public at large. Town hall is as well, but people can use the drop box. There is a big stop sign out in front of that drop box if you've seen it. Emails, and we will make one-on-one appointments for people. We're trying to conduct business as best possible. Now, the senior center itself, however, is not open in any fashion other than the food pantry and then services that are provided over the telephone. We will try to get the Mart service rolling back within the next week or two. So we are, kind of holding the reins on that as much as possible. But so far, we've not had any, because of the ability to service people online, our willingness to make appointments with people. We've not had any comments to our office to the negative. Most people seem to be getting served without a great interruption or delay.
Now, what about all the cars at the high school on, I assume it's a church or a meeting. Been by several weekends and there's a lot of cars there in the parking lot. A lot of cars. What's
That's
going
the
on there?
Sunday morning church service, I believe.
Okay, I didn't know better, but I would consider that a large gathering. And I'm not anti-church or anything. I'm just saying, as far as the numbers go, and that's why I was asking about signage, even though the school's not open, I mean, there should be some sort of, a lot of other towns have billboards up, those flashing highway signs, social distance 6 feet. We may not have the resources to do that, but where we do have resources to put up signs that where buildings are being used, because if the high school is being used for a church or a group or whatever they're being used for, there should be some sort of signage there to remind the people that, that these are the rules and you need to follow them, even though there's nobody there to watch you. That's just my opinion on that, because a lot of people are going to start saying there's a bunch of cars there. Why can't we go back to school? I'm getting it from a lot of people about school, questions, and I don't have the answers for them.
When they do have church on Sundays there, it's based on the amount of space that they can use, how many people they can have. I do not know how many people are going to those services, but I do know that Rick Moulton and his crew, after that happens, they have a machine that does misting of antibacterial that sits overnight and takes care of the after of the church service. So, but I can do a little checking on that, and I can check into signage too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be it's overcautious. Yep. It's not a complaint. It's just reminding people, I think, is the most important thing.
I agree.
You really got to keep the numbers low by following the protocol put in place.
Right. I believe.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Thinking the next one is why we have a lot of guests here. So the agricultural use of fertilizer or application of fertilizer, sorry.
Yes, Carter and I talked about this. I invited the Agricultural Commission to be part of our meeting, and they posted it too, so that there's no issue. What we really want to do is start the process of helping our community to feel comfortable with agricultural resources, and I am not an expert in that area, so I'm hoping that they can help us. So
thanks, Lori. Our chairperson had to work tonight, so but Dave Pease from Pease Orchard and Matt Leclerc are here. I would have to say probably a lot more experts on fertilizer.
Carrie froze.
Carrie is frozen.
Jane, if I might.
Yep, please.
So we've gotten questions, and this was driven primarily by its use at the wildlife management area. So we have people who are concerned about what kind of fertilizers are used in town, what impact it has. At the same time, we are a right to farm community, and we have the Agricultural Commission to speak for the ag community, defend the things that they need, explain the things that they need. And I guess our thought was that perhaps, and of course it's a little more difficult to do it remote and Zoom this way, but what we thought was to see what the two boards would consider to be the merits of a special meeting, a special presentation that would talk about what the agricultural community uses to grow its crops and you know, make them healthy, and why they do that and how they do that. And for those who are concerned about its use at the wildlife management area, perhaps invite someone from the state for that property specifically. For those who are concerned about impact upon the water wells, perhaps invite the water department. For those who are concerned about the impact on their own groundwater wells, perhaps put together a package testing program where we could get them a lower rate if we had enough people in town who wanted to have their groundwater wells tested, because frankly, most people honestly don't know what the quality of the water is. They know they turn the tap on and the pump comes on and there's water there. So we wanted to run this by you and the Ag Commission and see what you thought, and maybe we're making more of it than it need be, but we just wanted to get your input on it and see if you wanted us to proceed or if you thought that we were making a bit more of it than need be, and leave it as it is.
Okay, Carrie's reconnecting, so. Are you
Yeah,
back?
you just gotta love Comcast. Oh, man, this is
There
the
you
second
go.
time I've been dropped off.
We can hear you. Were you able to hear what Carter had said?
Just at the very end, but did Matt acknowledge that he was there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, great, okay.
He's
Yeah.
here.
So, first thing I'd like to know is what is the sudden concern of this? What caused this to come to a head?
Well, we've had the question for a while, but the most recent triggering action was a belief that material was being spread at Norcross Hill. And it has not been at this point, to my knowledge. It is used on a regular basis by Mr. Tolman after each cut. And we thought that rather than leaving people to their imaginations, perhaps putting together a group to explain what the agricultural community does, why they do it, how they do it. And it might be a good exercise for the community at large so that we could give people an opportunity to ask questions, dispel any rumor. Social media has a lot of good aspects to it. It certainly allows people to connect with family and others, but it also has a way of fueling rumors and unfounded statements. So that's kind of what drove it this time, Matt.
Okay.
First of all, excuse me, Matt, I don't mean to interrupt.
All right. No,
but
you're good.
what is your exact question? Are you concerned about the material? Are you concerned about fertilizer in general? Are you looking at, I mean, what exactly is the question? I mean, I'm not quite sure where this is. I mean, I'm not sure what.
The question, so we can do one of two things. As we get questions from the community, we deal with them one at a time, and it is what it is.
So what's the question from the community?
Someone's question is about Norcross Road, and then
Okay.
someone else is saying she has many other questions but hasn't typed them in.
All right.
yet.
Well, why don't we get a list of questions regarding whatever it might be regarding fertilizer materials, and then we can address those. We can address those, you know, from the Ag Commission, from a standpoint of synthetic fertilizers, organic fertilizers, sludge fertilizers, so on and so forth. You know, if people are concerned about what might be or what's being deposited, you get submittals, you get the, you know, you check for metals and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, what is the question? I mean, if you have you know, a set of concerns, bring them up. I mean, and
Well, therein lies one of the issues is they don't necessarily bring them up with us. They bring some up. Some kind of get floated around out in the community without being directly submitted to us. And that's why we thought that, possibly having one night with the Ag Commission, maybe the Board of Health, someone from the state who approves the different kinds of fertilizers, in which a little bit of a presentation could be put together in terms of what the farming community does, why they do it, how they do it, how it gets reviewed, and then take as many questions as possible. We would encourage as many people to either submit their questions ahead of time by email or to do it in the chat box on YouTube, but to try to have this conversation with the community so we can have knowledgeable people such as yourselves.
Right.
I worked on a farm as a kid, but that was many more years ago than I'd want to admit to. And we used all natural fertilizers back when
Well,
I was a kid.
inorganic is as natural as organic. The organic fertilizers have to go through a
Pasteurization.
process, become inorganic, because the plants can't take it up in the organic form. They can't take it up in cow manure. They have to take it in the ammonium nitrate, which is the inorganic form. We can go into the science of all this, but my bottom line, my question is, what's the question? What's the issue? What's at hand here?
Let me jump in on this. From the best of my knowledge, what I heard is someone had concerns of seeing a Casella truck up at Norcross Hill. Am I getting close to this, guys? I feel that somebody saw a Casella truck up at Norcross and assumed the worst because Casella carries various kinds of fertilizer, which is all has to be tested by the DEP before it can leave wherever it's coming from to make sure for metals and things like that. They're under strict scrutiny to do so. So I think the concern is what's going on up there. Are they dumping it? First of all, they're doing nothing. All they were doing was a hay review to help Red Tolman get some hay removed. And he was just meeting a gentleman to help him do hay. So there was no dumping going on at all. However, it does happen. It happens all over the place. So I think their concern is he dumping sludge? Just because you see, I guess the point is just because you see an ice cream truck doesn't mean there's ice cream. There's you see a Casella truck, which is a pickup truck, which would carry no sort of volume. However, they saw the truck, and I think they probably panicked a little bit, and they see, you've heard stories about Casella and all the bad things that they were ever trying to do. I don't know. You hear this stuff, and I think that's what. Am I hitting the tip of the iceberg, people? I think that's where it's all starting from.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Matt. And these are some of the questions that are coming through. They wanted to know what the material was, but first, does the state have to comply with the town bylaws in regards to what's spread?
It has to deal with every load of whatever Casella sells they have to back it up. It has to be logged in, dated, where it's going, who was the driver, what truck they use. There's a lot of that stuff that goes on there because it isn't just a free-for-all. So that stuff, it has to be documented, no matter where it comes from. Now, a majority, I'm not going to speak for Red, but I do hay as well. And what you're using on a hay field is what they call potash. You know what it is? Simply, it's sweepings from a chimney. And we all know what potash is. When you do the creosote and all that stuff, it's called phosphorus. So they get these scrapings on these big chimneys where they burn the wood pellets. So it's basically carbonated wood shaving, wood carbon. Am I getting close, Dave, on that one?
It's very simple. All you have to do is if somebody's spreading something and you have a concern, you get a submittal on the material that's being spread. You have it tested by those individuals you have it, set up, and you find out what's going on. You say, it's got mercury, it's got cadmium, it's got creosote. You can't do that. I mean, it's really pretty simple. If somebody witnessed somebody putting some material on, all you gotta do is call for a submittal.
You can't be just jumping in anybody's field and just stopping the process. You know what I mean? I mean, you've got some rights as a landowner to. I know this isn't land owned by this particular person. I think I may be getting onto a segregated case here, and I think we're asking for a general question, and I think this segregated case may be a little I don't want to speak for what Red's doing up there because I don't know. I don't work every day with Red. I know I work with him, but not every day. So
Jane, if I might.
Go ahead, Carter.
I think this really becomes the essence of it. Yes, when we get a question in the office, whether the question's to me or to Lori, we can look into it and hit the answer back. That's only hitting the one person who had the question. And it's not necessarily getting that information disseminated to a wider part of the community. And so that really becomes our question. We can continue to do it that way. Our other thought was to try to make more of a community information session out of this, in which we could have perhaps some of the folks from the state who actually approve these materials speak to how they get tested, and answer as many questions as possible in that one night, so that we are getting as much information out to the community all at once. And everyone who has that kind of question is getting the same answer at the same time. So there's the two ways to approach it. And we wanted to put this before you to see what the thoughts of were from the Ag Commission.
Well,
Have right, and it is a right to farm community, and the
Sorry.
Board of Health.
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you know what? Your best resource is the University of Massachusetts Extension. If you're looking for information on what is used appropriately, what is available, and that sort of thing, that is your best resource to answer the questions that may be coming in from our community. So there's no better resource than the University of Massachusetts Ag Extension for the use of fertilizer materials. I would say that would be your best resource.
but Dave, that's a generalized question. I think what we need to do is step up, basically be me and you. It's gonna take a little bit of our time on a case-by-case basis. If they come up with a question, Lori or Carter shoots it to us, we find the answer, we get paperwork for it, it's put to bed. It keeps these people happy because they want to feel comfortable and safe. So we do that. It's gonna take a little bit of our time. It's probably gonna be the same question repeated. So if we have it, we can have it on file, have it for the next time if there's another question of the same, we could do it that way. I'm not against doing that and stepping up on that. And if you guys need that's not a big deal on our end. I can find the right people who would have the answers to give us the right information so these people can have it and make them feel more comfortable.
I like that idea, Matt. There's some other questions. People want to know if fertilizer is, as it leaches into private and public wells. Let me just ask the questions and then maybe you guys can address them.
Sure.
And do landowners have to adhere to the town bylaws as well? And are there special permits required for fertilizer being brought into the town?
Well, I'm gonna say something about fertilizer.
Okay.
Fertilizer will leach into a water system if you put 30 times the amount recommended in a field. Nobody wants to spend any more money than they need to. So, for instance, if I'm going to put now lime is a harmless. It's not anything that would hurt people. You can only put. I may get a soil test on a field that I haven't used in a long time, and it's going to tell me to put 8 tons of lime per acre. Okay, but the land will only absorb 4 tons during an application. So therefore, it's useless for me to spend that extra money to put 4 extra ton of lime on it, because all it's going to do is leach off the ground and leach into the water system. If you do it properly and do it the way it's supposed to be done, it doesn't get that far into the water system. It goes into the roots, the plants absorb it, makes nutrients for them, they grow, you make grass, corn, whatever you're growing, and that's that. So, would it? Yes, of course it would. But no farmer in their right mind is going to spend fertilizer. It's not cheap. So fertilizer will not be just overspent because they want to put enough. They're not going to put enough on that field in my opinion, not enough in that field to make a problem 200 yards away on someone else's property. It's just not, there's just, if you over applicated it by tenfold, yes, you would. But if you put it the way it's told to be applied, you're going to get the right results as far as that. Does that help?
Okay. Great. Another question was somebody wanted to know when we'd be able to meet in person to ask these questions, which I think we've already answered that we're not quite there yet to have the meetings in person.
I'll happily have some time with them.
How about, is there any way, Lori, that we could set up a question, something coming into you, and then we could share them with the agriculture committee and get them back to the people?
Absolutely.
Right.
That would be a good idea.
You guys are good with that?
Yeah, get a set of questions from the general public regarding
Mm-hmm.
fertilizer materials, fertilizer distribution, so on and so forth. And get it to the Ag Commission, and we will prepare answer statements for it.
Yeah, that'll give us a chance to research it rather than, kind of answering off the top of our head also.
I think that's great. And
That's kind of what we're here for. That's exactly
Yes.
what it's for things like this. So.
And Jane, what we can do is once the Ag Commission prepares those responses and we get them back to the person or the persons who've asked them, we'll make sure they get compiled so that they're posted on the website as
yes.
well, so that people can possibly go there first to see if they've already asked a question and if it's been answered. Kind of an FAQ.
FAQ, yep, perfect.
Yep.
Okay. Is there a way we can let people know that they can send these questions to Lori?
Yeah, we can put something together.
Okay.
Over the next few days on the homecoming page, soliciting questions on the Ag Commissions, letting them know that that's kind of how we're going to handle this. Sure.
That's great. Okay. And thank you all from the Agriculture Committee, Dave, Matt, and Carrie. We appreciate that you could participate this evening. And
on TV, so that's why he put himself on the camera.
yeah. Matt, where's your face?
I am right here. Am I here?
No, your face isn't showing, just your name.
I just put the camera up just to see my
No.
smile.
No, we still can't see you.
You have to hit the video button.
Oh, there you are, Matt. Now we see you.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Go Bruins.
Hey. Thank you all. And again, we'll get those questions to you when we get them. So thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Thank you for all that
you.
you do for the town.
Okay, have a good night.
You
Have a
too.
good night.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you tomorrow, Matt.
Bye, Dave. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't see any other questions from anybody on YouTube. So do we need to make a motion for that, Lori?
I don't think you do, because it's more
I don't think
research
we do
than
either.
anything else. There's nothing,
Okay.
other than, I just wanted to let you know that I did send a copy of the bylaws to Mass DEP, the recently updated bylaw. So they have a copy of it and they know what we can and cannot do.
Great. Okay. So we'll move on to number 5, the relationship of the health agent and the
Office of
Director of
Developmental-
Developmental. Oh, go ahead, the ODS, which I had to have Lori remind me what that meant. I'm like, oh my gosh, I knew it, but I just couldn't think of it this morning. So operational.
Office of Development Services.
Thank you, Office of, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my bad. Okay, so I think, I'm not sure who wanted to talk about this first.
Let me just dial back. About 2 years ago, we actually longer now, looked at reorganizing. You may remember Board of Health and Building Inspector went in one area, and Planning Board and Conservation Commission were in another office. They had split staff, days and times of days in which no staff was available. We met with you all. We had the zoning board of appeals, planning board. We have a number of folks in to talk about putting the support staff together in one area and designating Lori as the overall director. And that had everybody's support at that time. To the best of my knowledge, it still has everybody's support as a comprehensive way to deal with land use and building and health issues in the community. The step we did not take at the time, because Lori is the health agent, you appoint her, you assign duties to her. We did not get a formal vote from the Board of Health to have you vote on this piece. Everybody was supportive at the time, and I'm hopeful they're still supportive given how we've seen it, I think, successfully evolve over the past several years. So what we want to do is correct that oversight and take that step of a formal vote by the Board of Health if the Board of Health remains agreeable and supportive of this structure.
We were, Earl, I'm not sure, were you on the, I don't think you were on the board at that time, but yes, we were all in agreement that that was a good thing to do for the town, and Lori was very happy that we all agreed at the time. So I know there was someone questioned it, I believe,
Yes.
recently.
Yep.
So he's not on the call. But I can make a motion that we move that the Board of Health include among the health inspector's duties serving as the town's development services director, and further move that the Board of Health delegate to the town administrator the day-to-day supervision and assignment of the duties of the health inspector as the development services director. I think I said that all right, and that would make that okay if everybody is in favor of that. And that was from the town's attorney or town council suggested that's how we go about doing that. Which Lori is the director of development services. I want to always add that AL, sorry. So any questions from Earl or Laura?
I think that sounds good to me.
Is it good with Carter and Lori?
Is it good with Carter and Lori?
I've been doing it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I just get a check.
Yeah.
Thank you, Earl, for always
Earl,
being that checker.
it works for us, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up anybody's tailpipe, but I will say that I think Lori herself has done an excellent job, and I think that the structure, especially now that we've been able to fill the part-time position again, has worked well for the inspectors, worked well for the various boards, and personally, I'm delighted with how it's worked out.
And I would add thank you to Lori for all that she does for all of these development services.
We have a very large item in the budget to make sure we can provide her with the best supply of vitamins.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Keep her in good health and fully energized, because yes, we do rely upon Lori for many things in that office.
Coffee.
So somebody needs to second my motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Earl.
And
You're
I'll
welcome.
agree.
And does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
So-
support, folks.
Thank you for everything that you guys do. And again, thank you, Lori. So I think that makes it all legal and official.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on that or questions?
Nothing.
No, okay. Nothing on YouTube. And then the next item agenda is chair comments. And again, I would just say thank you to everybody who's been working so hard, especially with COVID. To Lori, I know to Mr. Curry from the select board has been doing a great job, and all of you for keeping everything up to date and staying on top of it all. That's my only comment. Laura
I
or
would second that
Laura's-
as well.
Earl, anything you need to say under member comments?
Not at this point, no.
And you said it before too, saying we just need to make sure that the town remains diligent with what's going on, so it continues on this good path.
Yeah, I've got asked a lot of questions about when things are opening and if we're doing so well, why can't, and I don't have
It's-
answers, and
Yeah,
I say, call Lori.
nobody's, yeah, Lori, that's what I say
Never
too.
say that.
Call Lori. No.
It's okay if you do.
No, I think it's not just you, Earl, though. It's everybody. The state and the world has so many questions, and everything changes from day to day, second to second, that it's just really difficult to know what the best path is. I
Yeah.
think Massachusetts has done a really good job. I know I'm on meetings with people from other states, and I think they were kind of like looking at us in Massachusetts like, what's wrong with you people? Why are you doing this? And they're
Right.
like Texas and California, they're realizing that maybe they didn't, Georgia, I mean, they didn't
No.
do it right. So there's a lot of thought and a lot of science that goes into it all. So, but I think there's nothing else up there. And anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns? Other than the announcement that our next meeting is August 24th?
If you're all good with that.
Yeah. It's crazy that it's not that far off, so that works good for me. And if
Can I
either
ask a quick question?
you
Did
may,
anybody else receive an email today from Drury Road?
no, I did
I
not.
don't think so.
I
I
don't
did.
think. You got one to your personal email?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Oh, I don't think I did, but I haven't checked in a while. I'm gonna check right now while we're talking.
I did not get anything.
I see a lot on the Facebook page, but
No, this was to me.
okay. Was
I will forward it. It's not, this is not the time or place.
okay. It wasn't threatening, I hope.
No, well,
Okay,
I don't threaten easily, so no.
okay. I'm like looking to see if it's in my spam or, but okay. How would that person have gotten your private email?
Do not know.
Okay. I don't know either. Okay, if you forward that to all of us.
Yeah, I'll try to figure out how to do that.
Okay, my mother's 86. She can do that, Earl. You can do it. That's all she can do is forward things. She can't figure out how to write an email, but she can forward anything. So,
I have a secretary for that stuff.
oh, is she sitting in the other room?
Yes, she's in the room.
Okay, she's a good secretary. So, all right. So I don't think there's anything else that needs to be discussed. So I would have someone make a motion to
I will
adjourn
make
the
a
meeting
motion
at 8
to
p.m.
adjourn.
Thank you, Earl.
I will second that.
I did have one more question, Lori, and we're all in favor. Does Laura need to stop and sign the minutes or?
Yeah, actually, at some point in time when she's available,
Okay.
she can call me and I'll meet her outside for it.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
I
She
could've asked
finally
that
went back to,
myself,
yeah,
I
she could have
think.
asked herself, but I just thought of it, so. And let me know when you have the paperwork for the
Community septic.
community septic, and I'll stop by as well, so. Okay, it was
Okay.
nice to see everybody's faces.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you
Take
very
care.
much.
Thank you.
Good night.